Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What's shaking on your Tuesday? I hope you're having a good day, a good time, everything else. A lot of chat before the show starts. Toby McGroby's here, Tim Jenkinson, Hamhead, Paused Up Patriot, SG. Ronald Bateman has been to the condo for Bushmills. Diana O'Brien from across the pond. Peg Leg Vet's here. Lucas Malago's here. Captain Mauser's here. And others, I think. Let me see. They're mostly all YouTubers right now. See, someone is playing the heck out of that. They really are. They really are. Hey, welcome to the show. We're going to tell you today about the Dust Bowl. And it's going to be dusty, pretty dusty. But if you'd like to go to the TomGullyShow.com, there you'll find 270 podcasts, one of which has to entertain you. I just wasted my time. You can also go there and go to our merch store and great merchandise, which I can't show you right now because I got too many pictures of the Dust Bowl loaded in. And, you can also go to cafepress.com/the Tom Gully Show for all that. It's all down in the crawl. You can go to paypal.me/Tom Gully Show, and we can get some contributions. Pretty please. And then also, you can join the Patreon, where all the adult stuff is that I'm too scared to put on the internet for real. So there you go. Let's get through a few of these chats, and then we'll get to the Dust Bowl. War criminal from the north, says Aku Mugen. I don't know what that means, but I loved the time I spent in Canada. I absolutely loved it. I thought Canada was amazing because I lived in Toronto, and then I also traveled all over as I was working for the good people at Canadian Tire. Sunday Jenna is here, says, oh, hey, Tom Gully. Hey, Sunday Jenna. Good to see you. She says hi to the whole room. She's very popular, Sunday Jenna. Tim Jenkinson is always entertaining. Thank you. Tim Jenkinson wasn't here yesterday when I was going 2-0, USA over Mexico, CONCACAF Kings. Anyway. Randy Ramos is here, says Chef is in the house. Hello, Randy. Good to see you as always. And Lyndon has joined us, says good evening all. That's awesome. If you could like, share, and subscribe, those likes do wonders for us. They don't cost a darn thing. And the shares and subscribes and the retweets and all of that, we love them all. We love them all. Incidentally, I have a big day at the fancy radio station tomorrow, but I will be getting back here about 2, so there will be a show, and I'm prepared to tell you that I had a rough time coming up with the topic today, and I finally settled on this one because it is interesting. But tomorrow's show, don't usually announce them in advance because I find that for programming, the real reason is I haven't planned out far ahead. Tomorrow's show is going to be Battle of the Network Stars. I'm going to tell you about Battle of the Network Stars. It's amazing. You won't believe it. Let's see here. Sunday Jenna's got some support for us there. That's awesome. 3,000 update. Well, you weren't here earlier, Lyndon, but I don't think this is accurate because I added the number of viewing hours onto our last total from yesterday's show, and we should have more. We should have more than we have. But currently YouTube lists us as having, and they update it at weird times, so this happens once in a while, 2,856. So we're less than 150 away. But that's just not right because we had more viewing hours than that just last night. So I don't know how they do it or what they do, but whatever. I saw USA did great. Sadly, England aren't doing too well lately. I'm sure they'll get out of that. Gareth Southgate taking quite a lot of stick. Aku Mugen, by the way, we should get rid of our coach now. Aku Mugen says, also supporting by super chatting other streams. Think of it as guerrilla advertising. Thank you, Aku. 2,856 hours. That's where we're at. according to them. But then we'll get a big spike because they'll catch up with the hours, trust me. Since the controversial New England kit have lost 2 games in a row, get rid of the kit. The U.S.'s kits are not very well received, and I don't know why. They look like most of the other U.S. kits to me. People got to have something to be upset about. Diana Bryan says, I missed last night's show. Going to watch it soon. Diana, don't you worry. You've been here since the start, so you've done enough. So anyways, I better get my thing open. You know how much I like to have my thing open. Let's see here. Well, that's just the map. I don't want just the map. I want the whole thing I wrote earlier. I don't like it when the thing I wrote earlier is not where it should be. Now, behind me today, thematically, is I had to cut the top of it off. It said rural slums. It actually said that. This is actually a poster there. Let's see here if I can get out of the way enough. I don't know if I can. Hold on. Yeah. Rural slums on worn out land. The Resettlement Association is something like support for displaced farmers or something like that. It was a big thing. It was a big, big thing. The Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl. I'm telling you what. Is a terrible thing that happened at the very worst time that it can. So, the Dust Bowl was originally a place, but then it became an event that happened. And it was a period of severe, and I mean severe, dust storms that greatly damaged the agriculture and the economy of the American prairies during the 1930s. Now, this was caused, a lot of people think it was just the dust storms. That was a big part of it, okay? But before the dust storms, and the reason for the dust storms was severe, severe drought. No rain whatsoever. And then some human factors in addition to the windstorms and things, which was a failure to do the kind of farming that would prevent wind erosion. Basically, they farmed the land so hard that the topsoil turned to dust, okay? And they just destroyed the natural topsoil. And this has been going on for a long time. It didn't just happen overnight. The drought came in 3 different waves. There was a drought in 1934, and then there was a drought in 1936, and then a 2-year drought from 39 to 40. And this is the worst time this could have happened because it was in the heart of the Great Depression. And these farmers, these were not giant agricultural farms like we had now. These were small farms. These people were living on a thin margin to begin with, okay? And some of these areas, some of them in the high plains, experienced drought for 8 solid years. Now, you may have seen The Grapes of Wrath or heard the music of Woody Guthrie or seen some of the famous photography by Dorothea Lange from this time. And there's a real famous one. I didn't want to show it here for copyright reasons, but it's called Migrant Mother. And it's a mom that was part of this migration. They had to migrate, these people. And we will get to that. We will get to that. The U.S. government had for years tried to get people to farm this area properly. Now, the plains were pretty much bereft of people to a certain point, but the Homestead Act of 1862 offered anyone that would settle on the Great Plains a quarter section, which was about 160 acres of land, which was a huge thing. After the Civil War, people flocked out there. And they flocked, but they all had 160 acres. It wasn't like a high population density area. Now, these farmers that went out there in the Great Plains had to plow the land very deeply because it was plains, it was grasses, it was not areas that had a lot of forest or a lot of naturally growing vegetation other than grass. So they plowed very, very deeply. Okay. Now, at a certain point, combines and mechanized farming equipment came into play, and that absolutely made the problem worse because they just plowed deeper and greater areas. So during these droughts in the 1930s, this unanchored soil, this topsoil that hadn't been properly churned, in Indiana, we know, for example, that if you plant corn one year, you have to plant soybeans the next year in the same place so that the nutrients don't get burnt out of the soil. In fact, they get replaced by those alternating crops. None of this was being done. Absolutely none of it. Okay, so during the 1920s, prior to the Dust Bowl, let me give you another Dust Bowl picture here so you don't just get bored out of your mind. This is going to give you an idea of what these dust storms were like. During the 1920s, the climate was good, really good rainfall. The winters were very mild, and that brought more people out to the Great Plains. But then in the summer of 1930, the drought started, okay? And during the next decade, the Northern Plains suffered 4 of the 7 driest calendar years for, I don't know, 50 years. And Kansas had 4 of its 12 driest. And Kansas, of course, a big producer of wheat, grain, all sorts of stuff. And that region went all the way south to West Texas. The Dust Bowl was a very large area, Oklahoma, Kansas, the whole Great Plains. So when the severe drought happened, it resulted in erosion and loss of this topsoil because of these farming practices. And it became what they call friable. The soil, it didn't just turn to dust, it turned to a powder, a very fine powder. And without those indigenous, had been growing there for hundreds of years, grasses in place that would anchor that soil, the winds picked up and they created massive dust storms like the one I'm showing you now. The crops failed completely. Even if they tried to plow, they would just completely fail because there was no water, and the seeds would be planted and the wind would just blow them away or blow on top of them and they could grow nothing. And by the way, these dusty winds were carried east, by the way. They didn't just stay in one place. They got carried to the eastern portions of the United States. Here's another dust storm approaching Spearman, Texas in April of 1935. These were not just a little dust blowing in the wind. On November 11th, 1933, a very strong dust storm stripped topsoil from desiccated South Dakota farmlands in one series of severe dust storms that year. In other words, one dust storm destroyed all agricultural production in South Dakota in that year. And beginning on May 9th of 1934, a strong 2-day dust storm, last 2 days, removed massive amounts of Great Plains topsoil in one of the worst dust bowl storms ever. These dust clouds blew all the way to Chicago, where they deposited, get this, 12 million pounds of dust. That's like over 5 tons of dust. 2 days later, that's that one storm, the one 2-day storm, 12 million pounds, 5 tons of dust. 2 days later, that same storm reached cities to the east like Cleveland, Buffalo, Boston, New York City, and Washington, D.C. Monuments like the Statue of Liberty and the United States Capitol were completely blotted out by the amount of dust in the air. People couldn't see them. Dust worked its way even to the most sealed homes, leaving a coating of dust in these areas on food, skin, and furniture. And that winter, because of the amount of dust in the atmosphere, okay, red snow that was made red by the wet dirt, fell on New England, okay? But then on April 14th, 1935, that's the date of the photo I'm currently showing you, Black Sunday happened. 20 of the worst, what they called at the time, black blizzards, occurred across the entire length of the Great Plains, from Canada down to Texas. And these storms caused extensive damage and appeared to turn day into night. Witnesses said they could not see 5 feet in front of them. Denver-based Associated Press reporter Robert E. Geiger happened to be in Boise City, Oklahoma on that day, and his story on that day was the first appearance of the term Dust Bowl, and that's where the nickname came from. So much of the farmland was eroded completely after the aftermath of the Dust Bowl. Once things started to turn back to normal, there was nothing to turn back to normal. All the topsoil was gone. So they decided what they were going to do was try to replace the native grasses by what they called the hay method. And so they started planting hay over that time. And they projected that it would take 25 to 40 years for them to return to normal. Human displacement, migrants, the Woody Guthrie stories, the Grapes of Wrath, the stories of the 30s are just strewn with tales of migrant workers having to leave due to the Dust Bowl. There's another story. You almost can't see it, but there's a little car there on that road that's being chased by the Dust Bowl. And then this is what the Dust Bowl would do to homes and property. It was like snow. It would just, only it didn't melt, folks. And there wasn't any rain to wash it away. And it was intensified, of course, as I mentioned, by the Great Depression. You know, these people were not doing well to begin with. And then this happens and they're destitute. So many families were forced to just abandon their homes, abandon their farms, and travel to anywhere they could where there was any sort of work at all. After 4 years of just hanging on by the skin of their teeth, the abandonment of these homesteads and the financial ruin from this topsoil loss led to incredible poverty and hunger all across this area. A bunch of people that were displaced from the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, and the surrounding Great Plains had to go somewhere else. 500,000 people, which is a lot even by today's standards, but this is the 30s. This was nearly 100 years ago when the United States was not nearly as large in population as it is today. 500,000 people homeless. That's devastating to the economy and to the public at large. More than 350 houses had to be torn down after one of these dust storms alone. The dust just completely destroyed the house. Whether it collapsed on one side due to the weight of the earth, or whether it just infiltrated so much of the home that it was hardly a home anymore. The severe drought and dust storms had all these homeless people. Others had their mortgages foreclosed on by banks. And others just said, hey, my family's starving. I have to leave here and get work somewhere, any way that I can. Now, California, I won't say benefited from this, but many, many people packed up their farm jalopies like the Beverly Hillbillies, and they just headed west. And they headed west, and they stopped everywhere. There was a business or a farm or a factory, and said, I'm looking for work. But it was the Depression when 1 in 4 were out of work. So a lot of these people got what was called dust pneumonia. They breathed in so much dust that they got like chronically ill for the rest of their lives. Other people died of malnutrition because they had nothing to eat. Remember, they were farmers. They were not used to having to pay for food. They grew their own. And they had no money, absolutely no money. Between 1930 and 1940, 3.5 million people moved out of the Plain States. In one year, a little under 100,000 of those people migrated to California. And that's more than the number of people that went to California during the 1849 gold rush. They abandoned farms in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, Texas, Colorado, and New Mexico, but they were referred to as Okies or Arkies or Texas, but mostly Okies. And that became standard in the 30s for people who had lost everything and were struggling mightily during the Great Depression. Now, not all migrants traveled long distances. Some of them would move from a county that was just devastated to one that was slightly less devastated. So the amount of families that completely got out of the area and the amount that migrated to somewhere within that area, oftentimes to the home of a family member that wasn't doing as poorly as they were, or was in a different industry, or had a different kind of business, or needed a mechanic or whatever it might be. That migration was split down the middle. Some moved within the area and found a way to survive. Others just packed up the truck and they moved to Beverly, if you will. Let me get you another picture here. I'm concerned about your guys' visual stimulation. This is an example of one of those trucks that would just, you'd pile every personal item you could on it. This particular woman, they ran out of gas and they got no way to get more gas. The Census Bureau statistics and a 1939 survey by the Bureau of Agricultural Economics show about 116,000 families who arrived in California in the 30s, and only about half of those, in fact, a little less than half, 43%, were doing farm work immediately when they got there. A third of all migrants were professional or white-collar workers. Not all of them were farmers. Most of them, but not all of them. Some farmers had to take on unskilled labor when they moved, leaving the farming sector kind of bereft of a lot of skilled farmers. But there was a far greater likelihood that a migrant would later go into a semi-skilled or high-skilled field that paid better. These people had been burned. They had been stung, and I mean stung hard. So they wanted a job that was more skilled and paid better, so they would never have that happen to them again. And that was true of a lot of people in the Depression in general, but very much true of the Dust Bowl migrants. While semi-skilled work did not pay as well as high-skilled work, most of these workers were not impoverished. For the most part, by the end of the Dust Bowl, the migrants generally, by the end of it, were generally better off than those who chose to stay behind. Now, after the Great Depression, some moved back to their original states. Others remained where they'd resettled. About 1/8 of California's population, 1/8, is Okie heritage, is from people, descendants of people that moved out because of the Dust Bowl. Now, the government, there wasn't a lot they could do, but they did establish programs for land management and soil conservation. The Soil Conservation Service generated detailed soil maps and took photos of the land from the sky to create places to reduce erosion. Groups such as the United States Forest Service, Prairie States Forestry Project planted trees and other things that would start to basically just anchor the land and create new topsoil. Groups like the one behind me, the Resettlement Administration, which later became the Farm Security Administration, greatly encouraged small farm owners to resettle on other lands if they lived in drier parts of the Dust Belt. During President Franklin Roosevelt's first 100 days in office, 1933, his administration really got aggressive about this and initiated programs to conserve soil and to restore the nation's ecological balance. Because remember, this area was producing a great amount of grain. You might not think of Kansas and Oklahoma, Nebraska as places that grow apples and oranges and tomatoes and corn. Well, Nebraska, a little corn, there's some corn, but wheat, you need that for bread, and other grains. So Interior Secretary Harold Ickes established the Soil Erosion Service in 1933, and it then became part of the Department of Agriculture and is now the Natural Resources Conservation Service that does a lot of other things. As part of the New Deal, Congress passed something called this is interesting, the Soil Conservation and Domestic Allotment Act, requiring landowners to share the allotted government subsidies with the laborers who worked on their farms. So the farm owner would get a subsidy, but he wasn't allowed to keep it himself. He had to give that money to the laborers. This was in part to stimulate the economy because it was the Great Depression, but also because a lot of these workers were displaced workers that had previously had their own farms. So they wanted to sort of create a balance between purchasing power per person on farms from agriculture and the income of persons not on the farms, so that there was a more even playing field. And to stabilize the prices, the government paid farmers and ordered more than 6 million pigs to be slaughtered as part of the Agriculture Adjustment Act, and to have that meat packed and distributed to the poor and hungry. That's how bad this was. They started something called the Drought Relief Service, and the Civilian Conservation Corps, which did a number of amazing things. The Civilian Conservation Corps basically put to work young men and taught them how to do things. A lot of them were construction, but they were also hired to replant the Great Plains. They planted 200 million trees, and those help to break wind, hold water in the soil, hold the soil in place. And the administration educated farmers on soil conservation and anti-erosion techniques like crop rotation, as I mentioned earlier, that we know of in Indiana, where I'm from, strip farming, contour plowing, and what they call terracing, which is building different plots of land on different plateaus so that the rain, Anyway, when you're in a region where over 75% of the topsoil is completely gone, the value of the land is degraded hugely. And this is just also economically devastating. By 1940, counties that experienced the most erosion obviously had a greater decline in agricultural land values. The per acre value of farmland declined like almost 50% during that period. And in those areas, less than 25% of the original agriculture losses were ever recovered. It was just a financial disaster everywhere. I can't state it. I could sit here and quote statistics all day. During the Depression and through at least the 1950s, there was limited relative adjustment of farmland away from activities that became less productive in those eroded areas. So that continued for at least another 10 years. It just took forever for them to recover. There's some people that say the only good thing that came out of the Dust Bowl was human endurance, the ability of people, and these folks are living in just a tar paper, just makeshift sort of dwelling. That's not a camper. That's not a weekend getaway. That's where they were living, and with, as you can see, at least three children. Here's a great photo by Dorothea Lang of a Dust Bowl farmer in Texas, and the triumph of the human spirit basically was the only good thing that came out of of the Dust Bowl. Although a lot of people like to point, and I would never do this, but they point to the Grapes of Wrath and a novel about the Dust Bowl era called Whose Names Are Unknown. Woody Guthrie wrote a bunch of songs about migrants and workers and their plight, called the Dust Bowl Ballads, and his nickname was even the Dust Bowl Troubadour. The migrants that came from Oklahoma took country music out to California. And for those of you who love country music like I do and love Buck Owens, I've got a tiger by the tail. Yeah. They're going to put me in the movies. Yeah, that whole thing, that was what they called the Bakersfield Sound from Bakersfield, California. And that actually came from those migrants that came from the Dust Bowl to California. So there's a lot of different dramatic works of art and paintings and things that came out of it, but I don't know. I kind of see that as, okay, that's just a happy accident, if you ask me. That's people in pain creating art, but whatever. So at any rate, that is the story of the Dust Bowl. And for my money, I know there's been some amazing floods, and there's been natural disasters, like outbreaks of tornado, like the super outbreak of 1974, which I was a part of. But as far as man-made, partially natural disasters, this has got to be the biggest one because it was so prolonged. It just kept on. And the fact it was the worst thing that could happen, and it happened at the worst possible time during the heart of the Great Depression. So that is the story of the Dust Bowl as I know it. And let's just get to some of your chats. Let's get this happy guy off the screen real quick. Let's see here. The wolf is here, and that's disappointing. I mean, obviously, we're always glad to see the wolf. But I did the Pervitine story yesterday, man. I was counting on you to have Pervitine remarks that were all perv, like you like them. The wolf is just awesome. Let's see here. That's Diana, welcome back. I'm aiming for the stunt boy position. Well, if we ever need a stunt boy, you got it here. Also, Rico starts in 30. Yeah, I know. I saw that. I was like, you guys couldn't wait another half hour? Thanks, Toby. What's my beverage of choice? This is store brand. I have one left. Store brand Cherry Coke Zero. I think that's it. Store brand. I couldn't find my Dos Aceros shirt, so I had to just wear my Sherman Bearcats soccer. I played in some game against their team a long time ago, and they gave me a shirt. Let's see here. Penn State played in the Dust Bowl against Ball State. Did they? Did they? I know we played Penn State in recent memory. I don't think it went well for us. Although, weren't we up on Penn State? Didn't we score? We were up like 6 or 7 to nothing, and then they scored 41 or 50 unanswered points. Tim Jenkinson, didn't you have a stock market crash around the same time? Tim, that's a very good point. That's part of what caused the Great Depression. But that stock market crash happened in October of 1929, I believe. And that's what led to many of the events that caused the economic strife here of the Great Depression. Depleted the soil. Yes, depleted the soil. Hey, gang. Kim Warfield said the survival level was very low. Yeah, if you stayed there, it was tough. It was tough. People saying hi to each other. Hang 10, brada. I don't know what that means. People saying hi. Cowabunga. Always like a good cowabunga. Feel like surfing on a 13-footer unless it won't keep my sense body above water. I remember that surfing story you told me. I'm sorry. Aku Mugen says, for anyone who's curious, a square meter of water weighs a ton. Yeah, water weighs a lot. I think a gallon of water, what is it? No, a square foot of water weighs 64 pounds or something like that. I could be wrong about that. Tell me more, did you get very far? Yeah, the wolf has a very dense body weight from all the bodybuilding and just from genetics, and surfboard won't keep him up. It just not going to happen. I don't care how bad he goofy foots it, it ain't happening. Lyndon said, well said, Tom. My grandpop and dad did exactly that with the corn and soybean crops. Plus, certain fields would spread cow manure. The land was rich. Well, you spread manure everywhere. That's for sure. Let's see, people saying hi. Hey, Wolf, you missed Pervitine. No, it's Pervitine, but you missed it. You missed the Pervitine. Red snow. I had no idea this happened. Were the blizzards the result of the dust? I don't think necessarily they were the result of the dust, but much like when a volcanic eruption goes up, the effects will remain in the clouds and in the atmosphere for a long time. The same thing happened, only to a much greater extent, with that powdery, fine, easily distributed by the wind soil from the Dust Bowl. This is intense. I had no idea it was bad. Yeah, it was bad, man. God must have been mad. Somebody must have been mad. I had a battle with sleep and lost, Rev. And the wolf doesn't lose many battles. By the way, 972-994-6822. I know Rico is on right now, but let's face it, they're not going to start on time, and they're going to play songs for 10 minutes. So you can hang out here. Come on, man. You know, the good part doesn't even start until I'm done, he said desperately. Let's see here. Sometimes things happen you can't control. That's true. That blue car gets everywhere, Tom. It really does, doesn't it? It's my fault for not having one of those delicious Pervitine chocolates. Oh, yes. Then you'd be up for many hours. You'd never sleep. Unbelievable. This is during the Depression, too. Yeah. 500,000. 500,000 homeless. Sounds like L.A. Yeah, now. So heartbreaking to see how folks back then had so many struggles. Oh, it was... Nobody suffers like the poor. And this was brutal poverty. Brutal poverty. Nobody had any money. Nobody. And these were people that had been self-sufficient. And it was just hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. And it's farming. So you can see it coming. It's not like... You know, you plant your stuff and, well, maybe it'll grow in another month. Nope, it ain't growing today. After you plant it 4 weeks ago, it ain't growing. The hillbillies had Texas tea. Oil, that is. Black gold. 500,000 homeless. We talking Atlanta today. Love you, Tom. New fan. Thank you, Gil, man. Appreciate that. Maybe the goal, by the way, on that topic, if you could like, share, subscribe, those things cost you absolutely nothing. And then other ways to support the show are go to thetomgullyshow.com, 270 absolutely free podcasts. You have to like one of them, right? And you can go to our merchandise store on the website, which is in the store link. Or you can just go to cafepress.com/thetomgullyshow. It's down there in the crawl. And if you really want to be cool, I mean, I'm talking Fonzie level cool here, you know, because it's pretty much the Dust Bowl at my house all the time. You can contribute to the Tom Gully Show until we get monetized by going to paypal.me/Tom Gully Show. And then there's our Patreon, which has secret stuff that I'm too scared to put out into the internet. The Wolf says, maybe the gold rush is still drawing homeless here. I happen to know a guy that owns 17 gold mines. He also owns the largest tourmaline mine in the world. Tourmaline, is that anything like Pervitine? Is that the same stuff? Toby says, no wonder my grandpa was so quiet when I complained. I whine when my dog sneezes in my face, when my headphones die. Toilet clogs are worst of it all. The Keurig needs the water refilled. We're spoiled. Well, yeah. They had it rough. Gilman, cute doggy. Yeah, it is. That is a cute dog, Gilman. Wolf says he purchased that mine from two partners that were angry with each other. They got the mine from the Empress of China. Wolf knows everybody. Joker's here. Hey, Joker. Good to see you, man. Everybody's saying hi. Doopa-doopa-doo is here. We know her better as Karen Garvey. And Karen, it's always a pleasure to see you. Hello, Kim Warfield. HC says, break wind. Well, did I accidentally say that? Phrasing. Can't beat government cheese. It's not bad. Did Tom tell the story of the Nazi experiment with what must have been pervitin-like substance used on Russian soldiers? Are you talking about the shoe experiment where they made them walk? Because they had, this is flashing back to yesterday for just a second, but we did tell the story at one of the concentration camps where they wanted to test out various shoes for the German army. So they gave the prisoners Pervitin and had them walk in circles 25 miles a day. And there was one guy that they just kept walking and walking and walking like 60 miles in a day. Just so they could test the wear and durability of the shoes. Wild Bill's here. Phone lines are open, 972-994-6822. It's in the crawl. How do I super chat here? I don't see it. Gilman, we are on the march to monetization. Currently, YouTube says we have 2,856 viewed hours. I need 3,000. So this week we might break that 3,000 mark. Now, you can't super chat today, but what you can do is go to paypal.me/Tom Gully Show and do your thing there. And if you do, you'll be more than a friend. That's trademarked to another show, but I'm using it anyway. But we've got more than that. I would estimate that we have about 2,870 or 75 or so. But we'll see tonight when they do the update again. There was a day last week where I thought they undershot us, and then they gave us, I don't know what they do. Can't beat cheese of any kind. I second that emotion. Or the peanut butter in the tin can you had to stir for half an hour to get the oil back in it. Oh, that's real peanut butter. Don't care for the flat parts of the country. Everything between the Appalachians and Rockies is boring. Well, that includes Texas. And Texas ain't boring. Plus, Texas has everything. We have the ocean down on the bay. We have the hill country. We have the desert. We have North Texas. We have East Texas, which is right next to Louisiana. I mean, we got everything here. I'm telling you. Rev, they still sell peanut butter like that. They do. Sunday Jenna says have to run, but picked up a shirt and mug on my way out. Sunday Jenna. You're probably not here right now, but bravo. Gilman says, can't super chat yet, maybe next week, but for now, think PayPal. That's right. As a Ute, in the summer, I work for the Youth Conservation Corps at an environmental center. There are national parks that to this day, you can see bridges and cabins and all sorts of things that were built. It's got a sign that were built in the 30s by the Civilian Conservation Corps or the Works Progress Authority. And that's where these young men who would have otherwise been unemployed, and these are men from 18 to 22 sort of, they cut the trees down, they built the building, they did everything, and they learned construction. A lot of these guys became contractors and helped with the housing boom and everything else during and after World War II. So I, from time to time, think, all of our roads and our infrastructure need help. Why don't we do that again? Why isn't every single highway in this country high-speed internet accessible? Why can't you just drive down the road and use the internet off of a optic line running right along? I mean, that's just me. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Lucas Malago says Roosevelt's VP ended up assisting the marketing in hybrid seed corn and had his hands in the development of a company that eventually was selling the majority of commercially sold eggs. Yeah, there was a lot of inside business going on there, Lucas. But maybe the overall impact was helpful because that hybrid corn was much more resistant to blight and insects and other things. So along the way, maybe it helped. I don't know. I can't say. Aku says, can't super chat here yet. Tom needs to be monetized. Yes. Thanks, Rev. How'd the reservations survive the Dust Bowl? I don't know. I do not know. I don't know that the reservations at the time were as populous as they are now, or I don't know what the condition of the reservations were. I can't imagine it was good, but I think those people were probably relatively resourceful. And remember, the reservations were federally controlled. So that was not only federal land, but they received federal aid during that time. So I'm hopeful that the federal government made sure that they were supplied the proper amount of nutrition and food and everything else, because those people were very resourceful in building structures and things that would be more apt to survive that climate. John Ziermite says, you don't know me, but you don't like me. You don't know me, but you don't like me. Hey, John Ziermite knows his Buck Owens. All right. All right, man. That's awesome. They didn't survive it very well, HC. Yeah, they've had it rough for a long time. So hard on the wolf. No, the wolf's indestructible. That much we know. The wolf just beat cancer, for crying out loud. People used to claim the Sahara was caused by humans, cattle farming, but modern scientists are skeptical or dismissive of that claim. Go to 30 minutes or more. I don't know what that means, but I'm going till 7, so it's 15 more minutes. 7 my time, 8 Eastern. Penn State killed us. Oh, I know that, Wolf. Didn't we open, was it this past year with Penn State and Georgia or some crazy thing like that? Diet Right grape soda was the greatest discount diet soda. Well, this isn't diet. This is zero sugar. There's a difference. I need to get more. I don't know when I'm going to have time to do that either, because I got to go to the radio station tomorrow. Tom, for me, this is one of your best shows. Thank you for bringing up the plight of small farmers during that period of our history that many are not aware of. Yeah. Well, even in places that didn't have the Dust Bowl, the Depression was not easy for farmers. It just wasn't. My grandparents farmed. They had a tomato farm. Was not a big one. The children did the farming as well. They did the harvesting. It was done by hand. You can't, probably maybe today you can. At the time, you couldn't harvest tomatoes by a machine, so it was a rough way of life. Hard work. Up at dawn, come in at dusk. Julian Zizer says the invention of no-till farming has dramatically decreased soil loss, but it's energy intensive. It needs a lot of fertilizer, which requires a lot of fuel to manufacture. Yes, that's true. I use a non-feral tank mixture, which I can apply directly to the soil. Sorry, it's from a commercial that used to run in Indiana during the morning local TV show my parents would watch. And it's like, gets rid of foxtail, Wittes Peak, cockleburr. I use a non-feral tank mixture. I apply directly to the soil. Just think about how our parents went through this. Yeah. Doopadoopadoo says, I'm a Shuli Network fan, but Rico will play songs and then super chat, so it'll probably start around 8:15. I agree. Stay here just for a little while. They won't care. We're friends. Julian Ziza says, in the hopefully near future, crops will be custom tailored for efficiency in whatever climate, soil conditions they're intended to be used in. It'll gracefully increase the capacity of the land. It will, and they can do incredible things. I'm not into the GMO thing, but we've always hybridized and cross-strained agricultural, fruits and vegetables and grains for better production. So I see no problem with that. Tourmaline is fancy. Collectors like it. March to 3K in March, or maybe April. I'm hoping March. Metal Maiden Vicky's here. Metal Maiden Vicky, not the Metal Maiden Vicky from Sonic Asylum Radio. That's my favorite Metal Maiden Vicky of them all. Looky there, Sonic Asylum Radio. If you guys aren't checking them out and you like heavy metal, ooh, baby, you're wasting your time. Just go to sonicasylumradio.com. You can see all their great shows there. And there's a bunch of them that are also on Facebook. My show, they let me put my show on their Facebook page, which makes me wonder if they're working with the full deck. But they're super nice people. They're super cool to me. They've got great shows all during the week. Their chat room is amazing. You can put GIFs in it and stuff. It's a party every time. And Metal Maiden Vicky's show on the weekend, it's several hours long. She does the alphabet attack. She does all these cool features. Lori's Let's Just Dance a Few. I mean, so it's not all heavy metal. And she does the best rock and roll interviews that there are. Better than Nina Blackwood, way better than Martha Quinn. The Wolf says, no, I sent you a video of the experiment where they covered the viewing window with crap and magazine pages. Well, I don't have time to watch all of the videos you sent me because I have to go to the big radio station more than I used to now. Who wasn't a pervy teen? I know I was. I don't know how I made it through the ages of like 13 to 17. I don't know. Shout out to DJ Dabbles. DJ Dabbles does rock. That's no question about that. What does it mean to super chat? Well, Metal Maiden Vicky, when I get monetized, there'll be a little dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat room. People can click that and they can donate to the program. I doubt it'll happen, but they can. The Wolf says they found subjects wanted the drug more than food. Oh, yeah, they wanted the drug more than anything. And the German government was giving it to them in their ration kits. And we went through the whole thing, Wolf, of how the reason that they were so awesome at the beginning of the war is that they didn't need to sleep, they didn't need to eat, and they felt like they were indestructible. But over time, they gained more and more and more dependence to the drug, and it started to have the side effects of nausea, depression, and all the other things. Great engineers. Oh, yeah, great engineers in those programs. The government never has taken care of the Indians. That much is true. Reservations federally funded, Lemme, oh, sure, they are. I'm not saying they're properly federally funded, but the U.S. government has long ago designated themselves caretakers of the people on those reservations, and it's not a good thing. There's a high rate of alcoholism and drug abuse. Love me some Buck Owens. Gotta love Buck Owens. Gotta love Buck Owens. The natives should have been the ones to build the wall. Okay. The Wolf says, yes, we did have absurd games beginning the season. That was just... You'd think if you can score first on Georgia and Penn State that you ought to be able to beat Eastern Michigan. It just didn't work out that way. Oh, sorry. Terry Nee says, I almost bought pineapple soda for my granddaughter. Then I thought, well, wait, I love her. I know. I probably have diabetes or something. Diabetes. Just from the pineapple soda. It's so sweet. This is my last sody. I'm out of groceries like crazy. And tomorrow I have to be at the race. And the next day I have to be there. And so there's just Friday. And then there's the weekend. And it's... Terry Nee is a very funny man. That's for sure. Akamugan says, people who advocate against GMOs crack me up. We made lemons by crossbreeding. We had to engineer bananas, not only to reduce seed size, but also save plant for processing. It's the genetically modified part that I don't like. A lot of the things you're talking about were done naturally, or at least more naturally than some of the genetically modified stuff. And the biggest problem I have with those is they're not calibrated in a way that relates directly to the human body's ability to extract nutrients or process those things. So that's my big thing on that. People, I think the other kind of food is better for you. That's all I'm saying. People, hey, if they label it GMO, I got no problem with it. Just make sure it's clearly labeled. That's all. People often organize to create FUD about new technologies as anti-competitive measures to protect the status quo until certain patent protections run out. I'm sure that's true. Tourmaline comes in all different colors: pink, white, green, orange, brown, black, red, and combos, just like kryptonite. That's awesome. That was probably 2 years ago. I sent you the Pervix experiment. I probably watched it and forgot about it. I'm not that bright. You got great hair. I'm balding and jealous of those locks. Yeah, and I'm an old man. Look at this. Hey, the wolf will tell you this is the hair I had when I was 18 years old. And watch it all fall out in a day. Middleman Vicky says, thank you for your kind words. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Reverend Wild Bill says, I have some samples of Tourmaline in my collection of goodies here in the room. Well, I don't even know what it is. Kahuna says, Tom, are you certain of the 3,000 hours? I was in a different chat yesterday discussing this, and they said 3,000 hours for advertising and 4,000 for monetization. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're wrong, too. For the love of Pete. Kahuna, now you've got me all boondoggled here now. See, now I got to check. Now I got to check because it says, hold on here. Okay, memberships and supers. Eligibility. 2,856 public watch hours. That's what it said. Next steps. 2 steps. Continue to grow. Watch page ads and short feeds. For watch page ads and short feed ads, which are pre-rolls, I guess, that I need 4,000 for. But for the monetization, I think it would be unwise of them to make monetization hours higher because they get 30% of the monetization. Do you have the sugar? I don't have the sugar. Soda? I don't have any sugar soda. No, I don't have any of that. I only drink zero. Look for corn, wheat, and bananas look like before man sorted things. That's true. They were dinky. They weren't as good. Tourmaline is a gemstone. Okay. I have a tourmaline decoder ring. I have a synthetic emerald. Karen Garvey says, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I said, I jacked around with my blinds like crazy to get them to be flush at the top, and they're just not going to. It's just the angle. Mine too, Red. I mine my own tourmaline. You guys are mining your own tourmaline. Lucas Malago says, is it time for the ice cream truck? That jerk doesn't come by at a regular time. He could come by in 2 seconds. He'd come by at 9 o'clock tonight. Let's see here. Jersey Irish Princess Maureen Lynch says, hey, Tom, long time no hear from. We're right back at you, Toots. How you been doing? Incidentally, she's on Facebook right now. And as we all know, YouTube is the preferred way to watch the Tom Godley Show. But you can watch it on Facebook or Twitter. How we got that? What's that breakout like right now? We got one person, I guess it's Maureen, watching on Facebook. We've got 20 here on YouTube, and we've got 10 on Twitter. So all you people need to come on over to YouTube and join the chat room. Except for the people on Facebook who can chat from Facebook, I guess. Diabetes is referred to as having the sugar. Do you have the sugar? I got to take my foot pill. All of my elderly relatives refer to their medications by the part of the body that it heals. I got to take my eye pill. I got to take my ear pill. What have we learned tonight? Oh, wait. Awesome singing, Tom. Thank you. We've learned that this show has to end in 3 minutes, and we also have learned the Dust Bowl was not cool, that red snow is not cool, and that some people went through some severe, brutal poverty. But that migration ended up making our country different and in some ways more interesting in different areas of the country. So Let's see. Everything about YouTube is unwise. You shouldn't have had to wait this long. Well, everybody else did, so I agree. But Jersey Princess is giving out hearts. All right. Well, so, okay. I know you guys are all going off to Rico, and I don't blame you. I don't need no damn pills. I need a shot, says the wolf. I know that you're all going off to Rico. Let's face it, I'm going there too. So I thank everybody. We'll be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's show will be on Battle of the Network Stars. There may be clips. Just saying. All right. With all that being said, I think the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time.